You people bought a ticket to see me, so shut up.
Yeah. Sometimes I get so mad, there's no control.
Ladies and gentlemen, just in case you live under a rock,
I might
you
grab
are
a
looking
bat, I
at
don't
the
know, my
youngest
rap,
and
my blood
fastest
boils
rising
over like,
star in
oh God, here
professional
goes. I
wrestling
lost all
today.
feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show. So have you ever felt betrayed? Switches how you see things, realize something needs change. Cause I know you got me fucked up, let me show you what's up. Cause enough is enough. I'll take a face full of pavement just to make a statement. I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll play it on your face just to make you go. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And now you gon' wish you was just a fuck up real bad.
Shut up.
What is up, wrestling fans? This is the Heel of the Ring podcast, SmackDown Live Edition. I am one of the hosts, BX Sports Jedi Kev, in with my secondary partner in the Samurai. Salute, Samurai.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
We're all doing well, man. Phenomenal. Happy Saturday afternoon to everyone listening to us on all the different platforms, on the Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, anywhere, Facebook, anywhere you Rumba, anywhere you get your video, and also all the audio platforms. If it's Spreaker, Spotify, anywhere, wherever you get your audio platform, what is up to you. And let's get right to the World Wrestling Entertainment SmackDown. Samurai, the night finally arrived. We finally get a chance to. The Undisputed Tag Team Champions will be decided on last night on Friday Night SmackDowns. We have the Raw Tag Team Champions of RK Bro squaring off against the SmackDown title holders, the Usos. The stakes were extremely high. It felt like a pay-per-view main event live on Fox Networks. What was your thought building up before the show came on when you heard that and anticipation of that card?
I was shocked, surprised, awed. All of the above. Realistically, I saw online picture of a title going around that was going to replace the two belts, but then at the same time, I'm like that can't be real. I don't know if you saw it or not.
Yes, I did. In fact, we did see it on the display of both belts there. We all anticipated, waited for it. And of course, it all kicked off with a promo. We had Bloodline cutting a promo. Paul Heyman, of course, the tribal chief in the ring, cutting there, speaking about their legacy, their dynasty. Heyman told a story about the Samoan dynasty and the Bloodline place in it. Revealed that if Jimmy and Jay were not successful tonight in that winner takes home tag qualification, they will no longer be welcome on Island of Irrelevancy. Putting a lot of pressure on these tag team. But all in all, I love the promo. I love the promo there to start it off with Paul Heyman. Of course, I love anyone that can get over on any mouthpiece. Although they don't need it, but I still love the fashion that he's there as their mouthpiece as Paul Heyman. I love the work he does with anyone, with Brock Lesnar, or even back in his day in ECW and WCW when he was a manager for many of the talents. Paul Heyman is the guy to get you over if you want to start a staple, a facet. And what's your thought on that promo, my friend?
I actually like that promo because it really amps up the pressure for the Usos to win the match, and they, that's coming up later in the main event, but we'll talk about it. I was really surprised that they didn't even get a chance. They didn't talk, but them standing there behind Roman Reigns made it feel more intimidating, but also it made them really they were almost in their own heads at that point.
You're right with that. And also, I love the fact that Heyman put over the Usos at descendant of the Wild Samoans. I love that. He highlighted Alpha and Sika accomplished what Jimmy and Jay has the opportunity to do in the main event. I love that. Also talking about our history and you know, every time someone, me personally being the way I've been watching wrestling for so long, I love when they talk about the history and embrace it and give a little bit of taste of that. So that hit me in my demographic group. I love that. And of course, you know, the Usos will come home undisputed champions. They're banking on it. And of course, like I mentioned, they won't come home to the island of relevancy at all. You know, I loved it. And also I loved he also had the Raw Tag Team Champions. He put them over. You know, he said, you know, they're RK Bro, very phenomenal tag team. I love the fact that they didn't even, you know, they gave them their props, their color, their flowers. And also, here's a little, go listen to that promo again. They touched without saying, they mentioned about the what's going on with the women's tag team belts. They mentioned about being, you know, respected, putting respectability in the tag team division. The men or women, but they just said men, but they paused. They're throwing little jabs there, and that's why I keep thinking, and we'll have that. We have a lot to talk about later on in the program with, of course, the elephant in the room, Naomi, Sasha Banks situation. We have our own opinions, our own thoughts, and in this promo, they're taking a little jab. Remember, Jimmy, is it Jimmy or Jay that's married to?
I think it's Jay or Jimmy.
Jimmy,
one of the twins. We don't know which one it is yet.
One of the tag team competitors is married to Tiffany Fatu, that's her real life character's name. It was Naomi in WWE, and they throw a little jab there. Now they would have not allowed this if there was something more behind the scenes, but we won't divert from that. But just remember that little nugget when we go forward in the promo. I love the promo there. I think that for promos are promos, and it wasn't boring. It wasn't Serena Deeb in AEW. That was a stinker, waste of time. This is AEW or ABW, whatever the hell you want to call yourself. This is how you cut promos, folks. Look at this, guys. That's how you cut a promo. Phenomenal job.
I mean, sometimes promos that go over 10 minutes are kind of long-winded, but that was a good promo by Paul Heyman nonetheless. And then you have Roman Reigns speak. Roman Reigns basically said, I'm doing this because I love you. And, you know, that actually made me feel like they're winning this match.
I still, at that time, when I heard that, I was still on the fence. I said, man, this is going to end up into like some type of can't be settled. So I was still, you know, at this point, at this time, I still had no thoughts that who could possibly become undisputed. You know, wow, we shall see there. All in all, I love the promo. I love the way it started off there. And of course, right off the bat, when we get into finally some ring action.
Actually, before that, you had Sami Zayn watching the promo backstage with a Bloodline shirt on.
He's the locker room, you know, he's the locker room general there. He's got to be there.
Yeah. He was like, that's how we do it. And I was like, oh my God, Sami, no.
I actually like the fact that he's like one of those fleas or gnats sticking around and trying to a cocktail guy with I love that angle. I love it. Sami Zayn, you know, before months ago, before the WrestleMania, I was not a big fan of him. I thought he was a waste, but the more I cover wrestling and seeing it in a different perspective, I am being he won me over. I'm a huge Sami Zayn fan with what his character, what he's portraying, and as a ring, I always respected his in-ring performance, but I really loved the way his character and development outside his creative control that he has. I love it. I think
I love Sami Zayn. I mean, and then they had a match. Shinsuke and Sami Zayn had a match, which, you know, for what it was good. I mean, that was surprising. I mean, that they went straight to a Sami Zayn Shinsuke match. I thought they would have done something else, but it is what it is. It happened. Sami Zayn and Shinsuke had a good match. It was a great match, actually. I mean, they have such good chemistry together. If you watch, if you go back to what was it, NXT TakeOver Dallas back in like 2015, I think they had a really that first match that Shinsuke had in WWE. That was a good match too. So they can have good matches if WWE lets them go to go to town. You know.
I agree. I love the fact, like we were mentioning, Sami Zayn is still delusional, thinking he's representing the bloodline in some kind of extent. As my power went off for a moment, do you hear me? I lost power.
Yeah. I can hear you.
We have thunder and lightning going on. So it wasn't folks. It was not the Undertaker coming in or interrupting or AEW's. It was the lightning strike that it caused everyone to go down. But when you're have a Jedi Studios, you have generator backup, UPS, and you're always prepared for expect the unexpected. So we were able to still continue in live in color. We didn't lose even internet access, which was phenomenal. So back to the program, everything's live in color. So everything happens here. So as I did
like I said the other day, we're live. Things can happen.
Anything can happen here. What I wanted to mention was when he was delusional. Remember, I love the battle between both of these guys. You could see why they had a real successful reign as intercontinental champions, both Zayn and Nakamura. You saw back and forth fight. I love the fact that they both were almost counted out. They both were out on the ring, and they both got to the count of 9, if I'm not mistaken, in different aspects there. All in all, a real clean match, no botches. Everything was, like you said, Sami Zayn and Nakamura both have that chemistry, charisma in the ring. And not only they were also tag team partners for a while, they both know it. They're professionals, in-ring competitor. This was not a botch job from Samoa Joe and Johnny Elite. Heck no, this was a good match. The crowd in Grand Rapids, Michigan, it got something good to see. They got an opening match, and you gotta like it. What's your thought at that? With Sami Zayn almost got counted out, and he got up, and as soon as he came in, he got super kicked there. What's your thoughts on that ending?
I liked it. I mean, I liked it. He was so proud he got in the ring, as Pat McAfee said, and then he gets Kinshasa to the face. That was really good. I mean, I was hoping, like, I didn't want a screw job finish. Basically, I wanted it to end clean, and that was a clean victory for Shinsuke.
It was. All in all, that match got the crowd hot. It got everyone over, and the promo was really good. So the crowd was already on its heels and waiting, anticipating. Whoa, this match tonight for the unification titles. This is pay-per-view. There's something gonna happen here. And then you have this match between Shinsuke and Sami Zayn. What's your grade on it? I think it was a solid 8 because the match was really good. Even the finish. It went with the storyline.
I would say I gave it an A+.
Absolutely, A+. And like my main man Robert Parr, A+. Many blessings to my main man who's in the chat, Robert Parr, and his day of birth. Salute Robert Parr again. Many blessings to many more to my main man, a huge supporter of the Jedi Network. We appreciate you, Robert Parr. Again, many blessings, man, on your day. Let's go. Attitude Era in the building. Indeed. So you gave it an A too, my guy, Samurai.
See.
Eso okay. Then let's go on. We'll move on to the next stop. We had a segment. It was Happy Time. Happy Time with Corbin. Now,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even know what he talked about. I really don't. I think he talked about Madcap Moss, but then I think I walked away because Baron Corbin, Happy Corbin. I don't like the gimmick, so I don't know what happened there.
It was, be honest with you, the low life of the night. Corbin came out. He mentioned about Mavcast, what he did to him and so forth. He broke the Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy. He destroyed it. He really took it. It was not a good segment. I guess it was a filler segment as I bring in my main man Samurai back in the building. And I was saying,
good difficulty. I'm sorry.
No, we're having it here. We have thunderstorms and stuff like that. I was saying the Happy Time. It was the low life of the segment of the whole program last night. I understand you need filler, especially for TV, and you want to get filler, and you also have your story. You're telling a storyline as well. but I think they're oversight. We know that Matt Casmoss is injured and he's done. They rehashed it, and they showed that he broke the Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy. He broke it in pieces. He shattered it. He cut a promo how much his hat is, $1,200 for his fedora. His shoes and stuff like that. What's next? Who knows? It looks like Matt Cap is going to go on a whole gimmick change, because now when you play that angle that he's injured for a while, he's going to be off of TV for a while. To me, it's a gimmick change. Is they're going to change the gimmick? They're going to make him revamp, renovate it. And I think, like you said, I could have done without it, but I understand WWE has to tell a story, and it has to fill with promos and storyline. I'm going to give that a D, because it was like, and I don't like to give an F to no one, because they're competitors. They go out. It's easy for us to say that, sit behind our ass here behind the camera and criticize and say you suck. But let us try to go out there live in front of a filled out arena, try to cut a promo and be charismatic, graceful, and captivate the audience, either good or bad. That's why they get a D in my book.
I'm right there with you. I mean, I give it a D too.
Right. And then after,
well, go ahead.
No, I understand. I was going to move on to the next one. After that, they started showing us last week, the ending, where Drew Gulak getting that chop, that terrible pep talk, terrible from Ricochet, telling him, believe himself, and when he sees him go and attack, and it actually led up for a match between Drew Gulak and Gunther.
Can we not call him Gunther? Can we call him Walter, please? I can't stand the name change.
Okay,
Oh
I didn't. Be honest with you, I didn't see him as Walter. Personally, I didn't see his NXT career. I'm going to be totally honest. I can't sugarcoat it. So to me, I'm being introduced to this man as Gunther for the first time. But we could call you, more than likely you call him by his NXT name. I have no issues with that whatsoever, my friend. All in all.
What exactly happened during that? I mean, I walked away to get some food, and the next thing I know, the match is over.
Well, the big Australian comes in here. Of course, he's very intimidating. Not for nothing, he's an intimidating presence. He comes in here. He looks like he's taller than what he really is. They said he's only 6'4", but he looks like his shoes are like, my God, humongous. And it makes it seem like he's like a 7-footer, but he is. But all in all, I love the name, the Ring General. He comes in, he's very intimidating, and he pretty much was kind of the squash job of SmackDown. He's the Veer Mahal here in SmackDown. He comes in there, of course, Gulak. I don't know what they're doing with Drew Gulak. I don't know exactly what's the situation with him. Of course, he got his butt kicked. He got hit. You saw Gunther chop him, and boy, his chest must be black and blue tonight with that chop. And one thing I did like was Gunther got a victory, and the way he applied the Boston Crab. There's some guys that are so big or so overgrown. When they do the Boston Crab, they don't sell it. They don't sit back and they don't give you that full thrust of that Boston Crab that looks like you're actually causing damage to your opponent's back. But yeah. Well, this Gunther, he really sold it. And I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that. You're not just another big meatball out there and half-assing and standing there stiff. You actually got into the wrestling techniques and you blocked it in. I kind of like this. I kind of like this Gunther situation. This character on SmackDown. They need guys up on that main roster from NXT, and of course, you saw Ricochet coming in to break up and for kind of a save with it. All in all, as we see, I got some pictures here. We see them both there looking there, and we saw the save from Ricochet coming in here. What's your thoughts? I know you didn't see that, but what do you think this feud? You think is it going to lead into a tag team, or you think Drew Lock is going to be in ringside with Ricochet and possibly turn heel and join Gunther? There's a lot of storylines there. Gunther.
I believe what I think might happen is Ricochet and Drew Gulak. I mean, they have something going on. I don't know what. I think it's like a intertwining of storylines here, because you have one with Gulak and Walter, and then you have one with Ricochet and Gulak. And one thing that I could see happening is I could see Gunther I did again. Walter, excuse me. Walter turning, turning Gulak and making him attack Ricochet. That could happen. Or they, like you said, Ricochet and Gulak could team up and they could become a tag team, which I really realistically don't want to see because they although they do need tag teams, but I just want to see what Ludwig Kaiser does, or AKA Marcel Barthel.
Yeah, that ain't that segment there with that. And then we have the ladies, one of the ladies match here. I'm highly anticipated, be honest with you. We have Raquel Gonzalez, Rodriguez, de la Conchita, Alonso, whatever she wants to be called these days, and against Shotzi. You know, all in all, everyone is buzzing and speaking about her match with the champion Rousey. She held her own well. All in all, the ladies come to the ring. Of course, you see Shotzi there. Some more pictures of Shotzi.
Shotzi's hot. I mean, the
reason why I decided to get that picture there, put it up there, those that are watching us on the video platform, is Shotzi looks like a member perfect for Judgment Day. She fits the criteria of what Judgment Day is looking for.
Where did you get that picture? That looks like from when she was involved.
It probably was. It was
she was involved, and then like they get bought by WWE, and then you don't hear much from the Evolve camp at all. I do know they're on the network, but I've only watched like 2 episodes.
Got you. Well, we saw before the match was announced. Backstage, we saw arguments between Shotzi and Aaliyah, giving away the former to the champion. Before even they got the arguments back and forth. It shouldn't. Shotzi got the opportunity because she locked Aaliyah in the closet, and Raquel took the match. So all in all, the ladies are starting to heat up and want a shot at Rousey. Open invitation there. Now, I love the fact here before the match started, we had the superstars gathering around to capture and watch Raquel fight, which is telling me.
I do have a question. What are Los Lotharios doing there? They're not women.
Hey, when there's females and they want to get on the kiss cam, they're there. They're there like a bunch of pervert angles. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I like Xia Li. I saw her there too. Xia Li's right. She was right there. See her right there next to Shayna.
Yes, she was. Yes.
I heard that she turned heel at a house show or something, or they ran a promo with her turning heel randomly. So I'm not sure if she's a heel or a face at this point.
Well, I haven't seen much on SmackDown lately to see where her character is going there. I want to be surprised if coming up next week, Rousey, if Rousey decides to come to SmackDown for the open invitational match.
I think what they're doing with Ronda is she's technically a part-timer, right, or something. I don't know. She wasn't on SmackDown tonight.
She was not in attendance. Was not in attendance last night at that event. Not even in the dark matches.
Oh my God! It's raining outside. God's angry.
Wow, it's raining here in Florida, and I know you're up in the northeastern part of the country as well. So
yeah, God's angry. The angels are also crying.
Well, this wasn't an extended squash though. Not for nothing. This was a real good match. Shotzi fought, of course, Raquel she actually displayed her power, caughting Shotzi off the ropes, reversing on some certain moves there. Both ladies fought a really clean fight. That's another thing. These performers in the WWE, once they're up there, guys, you rarely see botches, man. These ladies and male, when they get in the ring, they are top-notch performers. And I know everyone gets upset when certain your favorite performer gets released. Oh, they didn't give him a shot. They don't know what they're doing in WWE. They do, because when they bring you, they give you, they like it or not, and they are good performers in the ring. Shotzi, we all know she's finding herself. They're developing her on the main roster as well. But all in all, she did put a good match there. She served a purpose. She's a heel with charisma, who could wrestle well too. And we knew she wasn't. We knew Raquel was going to get over and was going to be eventually the winner with powerbomb. She wins the match.
The Chicona Bomb.
The Chicona Bomb, and Shotzi didn't come out looking like a total jobber either.
She actually got an entrance, which surprised me.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't we talk about this the other day with NXT? They don't give them entrances, and I was surprised they gave her an entrance. I forgot that she had a theme song.
Nope, it's the main roster now. You're in the big league now. You're not going to play around with the little, just walk to the ring kind of quiet. You're going to definitely have an entrance. And like I said, Shotzi, if she's auditioning for not just to get more TV time, but can you see her a possibility in that staple along with Judgment Day with Rhea Ripley, that dark character that she has? She could play that role.
Yes.
She's tired. Yes. She's tired of just being in the middle of the pack in SmackDown, main carding, so forth. Edge, I could get you to another level, and I think that's perfect.
I think you're right. I mean, honestly, if she magically somehow gets traded to SmackDown to Raw, or she just moves to Raw randomly, yes, I could see her joining the Judgment Day. But then she would. Do you think she would dye her hair? That's her signature trademark hair is green. So I don't really see her dyeing her hair though.
But does everybody have to be jet black dyed? I mean,
no, not really. I mean, you get Rhea Ripley who dyed her hair.
But look at her tattoos. Look at her look. It looks Judgment Day. It screams Judgment Day.
That's what I was saying. I mean, I like I said, I love Shotzi. I mean, I don't want to see her get released, but that might happen, and I don't want it to.
Now, if Shotzi does get a release, that's a type of lady that could help AEW's women division more than the other ladies that are not currently on the air. That's the type of wrestler that could help, and you could build on, because one, she has that pedigree of wrestling in the WWE with not botched wrestling moves, and also a really good in-ring performer. That's the kind of ladies that NXT needs to look at to bring into their organization, and that could provide that they don't need the main stars because they don't have anyone. They need to build, and that's the type. But I don't see Shotzi going anywhere personally. I really don't.
We'll see what happens in the coming months. How about that?
Yeah, I still don't see. I don't see her leaving anywhere. I think they're going to use her. I think there's. Remember now, we'll eventually get to it. There's a reason why they need to keep as many of the women talent around.
Yeah. Unless Nick Khan needs another mansion, but we'll talk about that when we get to it.
Well, all in all, the match. I give that match a real B+. It was good.
I give it an A-. I mean, just because it's Shotzi and Raquel, because they're both really good wrestlers. Although when she first came in, Raquel, she was not good at all. I think she really upped her game.
Definitely, we saw her last time. If you saw her on any of the premium pay-per-view before coming onto the main roster, she was holding women NXT Gold with Dakota Kai, and Stand and Delivered. Both ladies won the championship. Dropped it the following. If it wasn't the following night on Monday Night Raw, or was it on NXT?
It was on NXT.
NXT.
Because, that same. I know what you're talking about, because that same night they got the titles. And then they faced, I think it was, I don't know, I forget what it was. I think it was
Toxic Attraction.
No, it wasn't Toxic Attraction. It was somebody else. This is during the Black and Gold days when they first got the titles.
Oh no, but recently though, this past WrestleMania, they WrestleMania weekend for Stand and Deliver, they also recaptured the gold. They won the women's tag title, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez at that time, and then they lost to Toxic Attraction the Tuesday night following the WrestleMania.
That did happen. Now that's what you're talking about. I thought you're talking about like the first time they won the titles.
Yeah.
No.
And
then, what's the next segment?
Sure.
Was it a promo, or was it Xavier Woods versus Pete Dunne?
That's exactly what it was. It was Xavier Woods versus Butch. And again, I
No,
go,
we don't call him that. We don't call it that. No, I don't like that name.
Well, neither or less, I seen these two competitors week in, week out, week in, week out. We saw them in a tables match. We seen them in this here. We seen, no Kofi Kingston. He had the night off. He wasn't available. That's the storyline. Wasn't there. It was just Xavier Woods one-on-one. I'm like, oh my God, again. I understand it. Is this the fillers match? Is this the match? It's the night. It's this is the match that we all cry about it and scream about in AEW when they usually put the ladies here, and it's usually the bad match before the main event. It's like, the Serena D moment. The AEW women's match always a 9:30 slot. That's like, come on, hurry up because the main event is coming, and to be honest with you, I was like, ugh. Why are we seeing this again? But all in all, the match was fine. Saw it was a fine match, but the thing is, you've seen so much of it repetitive, you already have a negative taste to it. So you're like, no matter what or our factors, you're kind of like sour because of who the competitors have fight so much over and over and over. It was like, come on, what is it? So I don't know. It was unfortunate because it lacked creativity, effort that hurted that program. There was no stakes, there was no new development, no clear direction. The same competitors to each other each week. Sometimes a special gimmick is thrown here and there. Like I said, the ladder mat, the chairs, the tables and stuff like that. And of course, we saw. Yes,
they actually gave him a name. They actually gave the stable a name. I'm not too hurt by that because I mean that's what they are. I forgot what their name was. It's not. I forgot what the name.
Brutes, the Brawling Brutes.
That's what it is. I mean that's a good name. It's not a bad name. But then the name that they gave Pete Dunne, which I won't say because I don't like it. I don't like that name at all because I think he deserves just to be Pete Dunne, and they changed his look. They give him this childlike temperament, which I don't like. But all in all, he's a good wrestler. I think he deserves more than he's given. I mean, if he really wanted to, he could be one of the ones that can break out. Break out and go for the Intercontinental Championship or something. But lose the name change, please.
Well, I know McAfee forgot to get the memo. He called them Fight Night. And they decided to call them Brawling Brutes their name. But all in all, Elijah Woods makes it 2-0 against Butch in the Backwoods with the Backwoods. A simple small package was problematic for Butch here. Then you see Xavier Woods on the ramp, celebrating his victory. And lo and behold, he is surrounded by Sheamus and Holland. And Butch comes running with a flying and hits him. And, of course, they knock him out. They beat him up. And they leave him, instead of being victorious, they leave him on the ground hurt there. Okay. Then it's not finished there because they go on a commercial. They cut a promo immediately with Xavier Woods talking about they're getting tired of this situation. With this, and they're going to settle it once and for all with a 6-man tag, and they will have a new member, a New Day member, or a new situation coming up in the New Day, a new development. So we shall turn in next week of what could it possibly be.
I mean, it's gonna. Who else could it be? If it's going to be disappointing, I don't want to see it. But like, I feel like it will be probably somebody from NXT that's ready to come up. But then I'm not sure. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of any other who could fit the New Day persona. And
also, let's. Well, we'll get back to that. Your thought in a second. I want to ask you this: Why did they reform the New Day? I mean, the New Day is getting stale and old. I like Kofi Kingston. But like they need to do something more with Xavier Woods because he won the King of the Ring tournament. They just dropped that. Like after he got after a few weeks, they just dropped it. He's no longer the king of the ring. So where do they go from there?
One thing that hurt it New Day, the injury to Biggie.
Well, that too. But I'm saying, like, as far as Big E goes, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't Rich Holland's fault. It was just a freak accident.
Right. Correct.
I feel like. Go ahead.
No, I feel the same with you. That was just a freak accident. You can't count or prepare for that. Not for a wrestler of Big E's caliber.
I think that he. I think he'll be fine. He's been out for what, 2 months now?
Just about.
Yeah, he'll be back like soon. But I just can't stand the fact that they're just going on and on and on with this whole New Day stick. Like I said, I like the New Day, but at the same time, I can't keep watching the New Day go out there and squash people. That's what they're basically what they're doing. I mean, you know it. You see it, but then at the same time, it's like they're not getting anybody over. They win. They barely lose, but that's Vince likes the New Day. That's why they're still a thing.
Yeah, because they made it work. Vince. Here's the thing: if you know a little bit about the backstory of the New Day situation, remember Kofi Kingston had that Jamaican accent, didn't work through. He came back to creative with Vince. I can't do this. I can't be this Jamaican accent even when I'm at home. My mom, I remember him saying that his mom used to call him, or they used to call, and his mom will say, "You're not Jamaican. Why are you doing an accent, Mom? It's part of my work." So that's what led to him going to creative and talk to Vince McMahon. I can't do this accent. I can't pull it through. It's not real. It's not me. So Vince made him say, you know what? Why don't we pitch the gospel with power positivity, with the Baptist stuff and being a background. And Vince just put it out there to see if he thought it wasn't going to work. And the competitors, these guys, they made it work and they got over, because it's a little truth, all of us, living in the South and sort of background, our backgrounds are of, I'm not saying I don't know them personally, but most of us, majority of us, are Christian-based background who are Baptist, either Pentecostal or whatever, and we know how to it's in our blood to worship, and I think that power of positivity of that felt well through these characters because there's a little bit of realism in us, and I think that's when New Day really took off and was really good because they lived, we know. The spirit knows how to work, and they were doing that with the roles, and I think it worked for the New Day. That's how that came about. Now, as a third member, if it's not Big E or another person, you got to think about somebody who's big, who really doesn't need to be a mouthpiece, who could come in and because you got Kofi who could cut the promos and mostly Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods, to be honest, is more like a manager, not more. I don't see him more of as a competitor. It's like I don't know. I don't see that, but you need a mouthpiece. Two guys that come in mind, actually that are on the main roster that you could use, and I need not NXT wise. We'll talk about. I want to hear the first main roster guys that not being doesn't know what direction you could go with, and then we'll bring in some NXT guys that we think that could fill in that role. I'm thinking one Titus O'Neil, he's humongous. He's always happy, smiling. An ambassador for the WWE outside of the, with all the Special Olympics or Make-A-Wish and all the other good, positive things that WWE does.
Yeah. Isn't he on SmackDown though? I mean, on Raw though?
I never see him, Samurai. I don't know.
I think he's on Raw, but then they don't use him. So there's a joke going around on about him being the catering because he's basically not there, but he basically cooks food for catering, which is funny because like that's where he usually is, catering. So
hey, as long as he hasn't been released, McMahon loves him. Along him and our truth, McMahon loves Titus O'Neil. Yeah,
they're not going to release Titus because that's a bad PR move, really.
He's a good guy. He's a really good guy. All in all, what he does for the company.
Very true. Like I said, but like if they do, like if they were to ever release him, that would be just bad PR because of all the things he does for the WWE, like Make a Wish, Boys and Girls Club, things like that. So they're not gonna. If they did release them, they would just be basically screwing themselves over because they have nobody else to do it.
Yeah, it's a PR hit. That's a PR that they do that. You could see him there. You could also from the main roster. I'm thinking also him or Apollo Crews. I mean, his gimmick. Let's face it, his gimmick stink. And like I was mentioning, and I brought that story of Kobe Kingston getting over with the New Day, the way he and complaining about his gimmick. The same thing with Apollo Crews. Why would Apollo Crews? Kofi could say, you know what, I identify and I see myself with you. With doing a gimmick of something that you're not. You're not. You know what?
Well, I mean, he is from Nigeria, so like he is actually Nigerian.
That's fine. But the Coming to America skit, you know what? It was funny, but it's not no more funny. Come and join. You know what? You're a competitor who speaks very well good English. You don't have the African accent or the fake accent pushing up. Just come on, join the New Day. Let's come on, be an on. And I think that could work because you don't need Apollo to speak. You don't need him to have the mouthpiece. You have the mouthpiece, and Xavier Woods also could be handled with Kofi. And I think that will help and let him, because he is a good wrestler. I like Apollo Crews as a wrestler. He doesn't have the charisma as a mic or to get over, and he is not a heel either. They try to make him heel and with Colonel Mustard, whatever the guy's name is, that
Commander Aziz, the big dude,
him too. It didn't resonate. It didn't resonate. It didn't kick. And if you put him there to be a face, because that's what Apollo Crews is, a face who could do that, who could get over, and maybe he working with the New Day will help him with his promo skill. Because let's face it, when Big E came out, when he was with AJ Lee as a bodyguard, he also wasn't over with his promos, and now he could cut some good promos. It took time, but he's really good on the mic.
What is going on with where are Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode? That's what I want to know.
Well, we'll talk about that at the end of the program. We could find out where's Waldo, where's the wrestlers. Now let me ask you this: any other person in WWE roster you think could be that third party, that third member for the New Day for this bout?
I don't really know who's on the main roster because you barely see any of them.
Or think of a name that you haven't seen.
Well. I mean, I could see. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. I can't tell you.
All right. From the main roster, you also have. Remember, we mentioned about Sheldon Benjamin hasn't been seen.
Yeah, as well. Sheldon would be there, but then at the same time, we want him on NXT. NXT. So he can do both NXT and like Natalia is doing. I think she's still in the program with Cora Jade. I'm not even sure anymore. Because I mean, he's not doing anything on Raw, so he could just easily move over to SmackDown.
All right. So let me ask you this: anyone from NXT seen getting elevated and joining this facet with the New Day?
I could see. I haven't seen Bo in a while. The Asian guy.
Okay.
Bo, the Chinese dude. I could see. Not Sanga because he's in a program with somebody else.
Wesley and
Wesley. And who else have we seen on NXT?
Or somebody that we did see that you think is ready. They might think they want to elevate to join the New Day here and say, you know what, let me get you with the New Day for now. Carmelo Hayes.
Does it have to be a black stereotype? Because I mean that's kind of racist.
No, because this WWE is a melting pot. You could see, and and shame on those that are in Twitter, saying that this is an anti-black, anti-women, anti-black woman. That what's going on with Naomi and Sasha? You're wrong because WWE treats everyone equally. There, you could see that the Samoans, they're champions. But Blanca Belair is the world's women heavyweight champion. Women's Raw champion, and she's African American descent.
I mean,
They got to stop with that narrative because it's not there. And nobody knows their pay of who gets paid or what. You want to, and no one knows. So you can't say, oh, because of the pay rate. Maybe the men do get paid more than the women. Who knows? But I doubt that.
I could
Stop that. That's what I'm just trying to say. Stop with that narrative. That's not.
I was just saying. I don't really care either way because I'm all for equality and whatnot. So I feel like who could be who could be. I would say Carmelo Hayes. Yes, he's more than ready to be on the main roster. But I think they're going to give him they might give him a run at the NXT championship, the main NXT championship.
Nice, that'd be nice. I am impressed with his work. We'll break that when we do our NXT reviews.
Yeah. From there, I mean, I can see Trick Williams too, but then he's not really ready yet.
Well, we shall turn in next week to find out who's this third honorary member, or could it be just Big E himself? Could he have been cleared and comes out of nowhere and surprise us? I wouldn't put that past it, but I don't. Hopefully, if he does return to the ring, I hope he's 100% clear, ready. And he doesn't have to end his career short because he needs to get back in the ring. The applause, the entertainment value of Big E could be on hold. The most important thing is right now is his health and his conditioning. To see you in the ring. We'll love to see you back in the ring, my big guy. But make sure you're at 100%.
Very, very true. Now I'm hoping that it could. What if it was a producer, like let's say what's his name? Jason Jordan, or it could be, Gregory Helms. I don't know, a producer. What if it was a producer? That's. I mean, they could still go. I mean, it could be Joseph Park, or he can go to be Abyss for one night only.
We shall see.
It could be anybody, That's just see. That's my realm of thinking right there.
Yeah. The match, just a C. I'm gonna give it a C. I'm not. Yeah, it was a match.
The match was. I give it a C. C plus.
So Frank says that Big E was out for 4 to 6 months if it was worse than they first reported. Yeah, so I don't see him returning back into the ring to participate in this 6-man, but we shall see there. Although when we move on here, we saw a promo in the back, and finally all the internet nerds, all the Twitter nerds got to see their man. They all got excited when the man formerly known as the LA Knight came out now, and now he's under the name Max Dupree. Dupree, like Frank Kali. Salute Frank. LA Knight now says that he had a contract with Sonya Deville, and Sonya Deville no longer represent there, and looks like there's going to be in that angle of a problem there. LA Knight, tell me about him, because I see everyone's kind of get excited for this fella. I don't recall seeing his matches. I'm going to be totally transparent. What am I expecting here? Because he looks like he's going to come in as a manager, not a wrestler.
He is coming as a manager, which is unfortunate. They changed his name. They give him this manager-like gimmick. From there, he's a really good performer. He actually had a really good. If you go back and watch, he had a really good match with Cameron Grimes. For the $1 million championship back in NXT, a few matches with Cameron Grimes that actually featured what's his name, Ted DiBiase. So
Junior?
No. His father.
Okay.
The $1 million man.
Okay. Do you think so? He's coming in as a manager who's going to bring in some performers. It's an opportunity, a door open for the WWE to bring in some more NXT talent up here through LA Knight as a manager's leader of a staple. the way I'm looking at it, he doesn't look too tall. Is this he's like what, six? He's like 6 foot, not a tall fella. This Max Dupree going forward, but it's interesting. He's finally here. He's finally arrived, so everyone could calm down. He's finally available in the main roster, and we shall see. It's anticlimactic because all the hype that I seen online, and if he's going to be here as a manager, what was the big hype? But it is what it is.
I mean, like I said, I don't like what they're doing. I see he could be a man. I mean, that's just a way to keep him on TV. They shaved his hair. They shaved his beard. They basically, took everything away from him as far as there you go, right there. His name is LA Knight. They changed it to Max Dupree, which was kind of like, okay. I mean, I see people online on Twitter getting mad that they changed his name to Max Dupree. But, on the flip side, he is a world-class athlete. He was in TNA for a while. I think under the name Eli Drake. So if you ever watch TNA,
there's a little bit of a delay here with Samurai.
Hello?
Yeah,
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, but you were mentioning that he was in TNA.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're live and in color.
Yeah, I don't know what just happened. You sound really low now. Hold on.
So we shall see. We shall see what LA Knight going forward, formerly known as Drake from a TNA wrestling. He has a persona. He has a clean cut look here. Too bad he isn't as tall as McMahon likes his wrestlers to be. Come back and come in, Samurai. You sound like you have a phone call. Someone is calling you. Well, let me remove him for a minute. Let's see if now can you hear me? All right. So we move on. We move on to the main event time as Samurai having some issues. Before we get into the main event time, WWE has their commentary, Michael Cole, Pat McAfee, and they make a statement that the WWE has suspended Sasha Banks and Naomi indefinitely, and they will be having a tag team tournament for the women's Raw of the women's tag titles because they're unified. The tournament will come out soon. Now I see a lot of people. Losing their cool, their comments about the WWE. Yeah, we can hear you. The WWE. WWE talking about the tag team title situation. They're losing their cool. They're losing their situation. Go ahead.
We're live. We're live. Things can happen.
Yeah, so I was just mentioning, let me finish this for a moment, about the women's tag team, the comments that were mentioned by Sasha and Naomi being out indefinitely, and everyone's losing their grip, their marbles, because, how could WWE mention and talked about it and say that and call them, they keep disrespecting them. Well, what do they want the people, people get either you're going to comb your hair or you're going to do rollers. You can't have them both. You're going to be pregnant or not pregnant. Do you want the WWE to speak about this and let us know what the hell's going on? Or you want them to be, if that's wrong, and if they're quiet and totally ignore it, they're acting like nothing happened. So you can't have both ways. You can't have it both ways. And personally, my opinion is, to me, it's a freaking work. You're all being marked. This is a work over. Now, is there some truth to it? Absolutely, there is some truth to, the creative direction of the world's tag team for the women. There is no many women competitors. Like, but why they're having a tournament? Why they're having a tournament? Here's the reason why. They went to Vince. Everyone, according to reports, say all this happened after the final meeting between these ladies in Vince McMahon's office. Now, they walked out after that because they sat down with the genius, the man, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, who is a genius, who knows more wrestling on his pinky than all of us whatsoever. So those that have that lens that they want, Sasha needs to go to AEW, shut up and listen to what I have to say. Now, because this is the Heel the Ring podcast, so I got to be a heel. And McMahon sat down with these ladies, heard them speaking. This is what we're going to do. I can hear Vince. Your guy's going to take some time off here. We're going to say that you dropped the belts. You're going to go take some time off. We're now going to listen to you. We are going to build relevancy and credibility to the women's tag team division, because now you ladies are off away. You dropped the titles without being pinned, not being squashed, and not being embarrassed. We're going to have a tournament now to bring these ladies who are going to be the next ladies to be competitive for the next summer program. And we're going to see them who's going to emerge. And when we finally get a finalist and women who are over for the tag belts, you ladies are going to return to the segments. And
you know what this reminds me of? I'm going to cut you off.
No,
it reminds me of the NXT Cruiserweight Championship thing that they did with when the whole pandemic started. It reminds me of that when they had who was the interim champion versus the actual champion. I think it was who was it? I can't remember who it was. I know Jordan Devlin was one of them. He was one of the champions. I think it was Jordan Devlin and Santos Escobar, and they had that ladder match to unify the belts.
That's one way. Also, we have an outsider NWO situation type of deal. You also are tied in there with everyone knows that the bloodline has an opportunity to unify tag belt gold. They have a chance. We all know that the tribal chief holds both unification belts in their hands. If they were to win this tag title belt, it also draws interest to the storyline, because what they said, the whole bloodline family is going to win all gold. All the gold is coming to the bloodline family. Women tag team gold is still a gold belt out there, which they could try to conquer and get and bring in. Also, when they cut that promo on Monday Night Raw, and I think that's what happened, Vincent, take the night off. We're going to build a relevancy to the title. We're going to get talk. Also, they're breaking the fourth. WWE is breaking the fourth wall, which they never do, rarely. But ever since they brought in the influence of Cody Rhodes, who knows the playbook of your opponent, of your competitors, AEW. Remember, Miss McMahon says everyone on the Pat McAfee show, everyone is competition. AEW, NFL, MLB, anyone that is competition to him, and he's out there to win. So you break that 4-4, you bring someone who knows the playbook of AEW, bring a little realism into it. Cody cut his promos about being away from WWE in his failures and his road, and coming back, why he came back WWE to win the gold belt and so forth, whatever the case is. And McMahon is an innovator who listens, who sees outside the box. And I hate when they say McMahon needs to stop giving creative control. Nonsense. Remember, this man made himself a billionaire. This guy knows what it is to fail in order to succeed. Even if it doesn't work, he still knows how to get over and make the money. He is a billionaire for not because he's cute, because he's smart. So I digress to make a long story short here, is that this is all a work. And of course, these ladies are going to get compensated. They're going to get rewarded with financially, money-wise. And also, when they went away on Monday Night Raw, I would have said, you know what? I'm thinking this is something serious. If they would have said Tiffany Fatu and Mercedes Mercado left the arena, and right now they dropped their contract and left their women's belts on and left. They said Naomi and Sasha, telling me we are still in storyline. We are still in the WWE Universe storyline, and if you don't agree with me, listen to Busted Open podcast. Salute to Bubba Ray, as well as Dave LaGreca. They had the Road Dogg Jesse James on there immediately, and they seem like to be it's also a work kind of work as well. Of course, you had Mickey J come out, who Mickey J has, remember, she has some harsh feelings because they did do her disservice by taking all her things and putting in a black garbage bag and tell her she's been released. So there's mixed feelings on her part of why she's upset. And of course, Mark Henry said, had to chime his two nonsense, because of course, you're being paid by the AEW to do nothing. So of course you're gonna have, you're gonna say you're right now you're a homer for AEW. So I have nothing to hear from you either. I like to hear the independent wrestlers that are not paid or doesn't have a contract for neither one of these organizations. I know I said a lot there, Samurai, to digest. Let me hear from you.
Well, I was going to ask, what did Mark Henry say as far as that situation goes?
Oh, Sasha and Naomi not being treated equal. They're not treating fair in the WWE. They're not feeling good. So forth. The same, pretty much reading what he heard from me, not knowing really. He just reading what he read on Twitter, just going with the masses. And it's a work, dude. I know it.
The marks out there will think it's a work or a shoot, but I believe that it could be both. It could be a work shoot.
And they say, oh, the contract is up in 2 months from now. Okay, so it's a negotiating tactic. You don't tell me WWE is not going to give these ladies the money, and why would you do something crazy? And I say, oh, it doesn't affect them. It does, because if you're married, if you've been married for over 20 plus years, a house divided does not stand. And if Tiffany Fatu is not happy with WWE, guess what? It's going to resonate to the husband. And right now the husband is over. The husband is making money. They're one of the most hottest teams in WWE. So you're telling me you're gonna be okay that what you're going on with my wife? I don't think so, brother. I don't think so.
Also, I'm gonna paraphrase what I saw on Twitter. You don't want to make the Samoan dynasty angry. You really don't.
Exactly. No. They contribute so much to wrestling, period. Not just WWE wrestling, but wrestling. And you could from all over. They are when you talk about the storyline of when it comes to wrestling, the Samoan race, a humongous part of wrestling. The story of wrestling, you got to go to that tribe. Those people, the people of Samoa, of the Samoans, and they have a huge part in wrestling, along with all the other ones, along with the luchadors, the Greeks.
Very true.
Excellent.
Very true.
They're a huge part.
I'm gonna say this, and I might get some flack for it, but hey, they know what they're doing. Like, everybody knows what they're doing. For me, I feel like they're not going to just walk into John Laurinaitis' office or Vince McMahon's office and say, hey, we don't want to be a part of this match, so take us out. If you don't, we're walking. They're not going to go and say that, but they didn't want to be in the match in the first place. There was no reason for them to be in the match. They're tag team champions, especially if they're going to lose.
And also, when I ever do a program, I'm always preparing ahead of time when I want to do my video descriptions and prep to see what the program is about. I always look a couple days, 24 hours to 40 hours ahead. I was looking at the Raw preview card. No match was available. Was mentioned. The only match was mentioned was the cage match between Bobby Lashley and the Giant Omos. That's it. Nothing else was available. There was no preview of what's coming up on Monday Night Raw. And also, whenever you buy a ticket to any of these events, whenever you purchase a pay-per-view or premium event, you got something that says always, when in fine print, really small, card subject to change. And for the WWE to break that wall and say, oh, we are sorry, apologize, fans, for not providing you with the card that we advertised, that we said, the performance and stuff like that. I say, you know what, this is, it's a stick, because so many times WWE have changed the events without letting no one know what's going on, or an injury or whatever the case is. They just change and they go with it. You're like, oh, whatever happened. Then you find out what happened later on in the dirt sheets. But for them to say it and break character on camera, and it's a part of the show. Vince Kennedy McMahon is a genius, a smart man who knows. Also, TV ratings are down all across, not for WWE, for AEW, for all wrestling in general, because May is a dagger when it comes to wrestling. You have all your winter sports in their playoffs. Also, you have the start of the baseball season. You also have the weather changing over. People tend to start going on vacation, graduation, prom night, etc. Tough for people to stay home and put the eyeballs on your network television programs.
Yep.
What brings eyeballs, controversy, negative publicity, this situation that's going on right now, which a little bit, like I said, there's a little half truth to it. There is. McMahon knows how to take a half truth and make it to an advantage where everyone wins and everyone makes money. Also, you stop selling the merchandise of these ladies. They're like, oh man, it gets even hotter because you're like, oh no, we can't even get the merchandise. The minute the merchandise comes back in their revamped gimmick, that's gonna bloodline with the Boston Glow, whatever they want to call it, that's gonna sell like hotcakes.
What do you think? Okay, now, yes, exactly. Now, do you think they're coming back as heels? Because I mean, it will make sense. They come back as heels.
Sasha's best role is a heel because she actually made a little young girl cry. But look, one thing I get bothered because certain gimmicks are smart and they have it for the wrong companies, in my opinion. I'm thinking the baddies should have been in WWE, not the wrestlers. That gimmick with Naomi, Sasha, you could even put other ladies in there. That would have been a phenomenal staple. Or they should have done already like they did in NXT, the Four Horsewomen. And Sasha is a perfect heel. Sasha, Charlotte, and you could mix and match other ladies in there. You need in the four would have been a phenomenal. Listen, don't even be surprised if Tamia's got to stop with the 24/7 nonsense. Get in the bloodline as an enforcer for these two ladies. Now you're starting to build yourself a little bit of an NWO with the three ladies, the outsiders type. Let something happen on Raw that they treat Tamia wrong or whatever the case is, and let her join the fight too in a family as well. Ah man, there's so much great storyline. They say wrestling or history tends to repeat itself. Look into your past. Look into the outsiders, the NWO invasion. Look into that. There's a generation that didn't really see it, and you ring that. Oh, I think they could be ahead of themselves. They have gold here.
Exactly. I mean, we shall wait and see what happens. I mean, they're not going anywhere. We all know that.
They're not. Well, let me tell you this, Samurai. If Sasha turns up tomorrow with Naomi and AEW, they're all going to do is wrestle Wednesday nights, every other Wednesday night, maybe at 9:30. That boring match that it never goes anywhere for the women. And the crowd doesn't even cheer. They don't even get on their feet. And they're going to wrestle for a couple of weeks. Then they're going to be stale. They're going to be. They do think you're frustrated here. So go in until you get over there. You're going to be even more frustrated. And they're going to probably be in Dark Elevation, maybe a Rampage match here and there, and that's
exactly. That's what I don't want to get into AEW because I mean you know how I feel about AEW because it's basically they're not using their performers the right way in my opinion. And they were the first couple of years. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't watch it, but I know what they were doing. And then they go and sign Daniel Bryan, and they sign Punk, which was a mistake, because Punk is a financial flop.
Well, that's what Bischoff said, but let's not divert. We'll talk about that at the end of this here, because we're speaking about the gold, right? We want to talk about when we just said that this storyline with the WWE with Naomi and Sasha, if they could turn it into gold, merchandise wise, story wise, get us captivated from now to the summer. And remember, stadium shows are coming up. How do you feel stadium show? The possibility threat of these outsiders trying to get in the building and Sasha and Naomi, can her do, and would her, so forth. You could really spice this up. People want to see, because guest faces, Sasha's over. Sasha is a star. She's a star, and so forth. And we shall see. And I said here, they got gold. Speaking of gold, yes, the main event time. It is to unify the tag team champions. We have the Raw tag team champions, the RK Bro, taking on the Bloodlines, the Uso, Jimmy and Jay. The crowd was ready. The crowd was invigorated. They were going to see a match here. The Usos trying to make history on SmackDown. The RK Bro trying to go into the hostile promotion and winning in there and taking that away and bringing a blemish to the bloodline. All in all, without giving spoilers, what did you think of this match, the way it started?
It was good. It was good. It was great. I liked the dynamic between the Usos and the RK Bro. Especially since like, I mean, I like Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle is gold.
Indeed.
He's just great. I mean, he's sure he's a weed head, but he doesn't let that slow him down. He loves to wrestle. That's his thing. He was in MMA for a while, I think. But he brings that certain energy that you need to elevate a program.
I agree with you. First of all, we saw Riddle. He took a hard bump in the corner and left it like he showed us they had a hip injury. He was nursing a left hip injury throughout the match. And the doctor interjected ahead of the commercial. They checked, so there actually was a little bit of a bump because when I'm reading on the third sheets that when they went to commercial, the ring doctor was there checking up on him. So we're like, oh, it could have been a disaster if they had a cut the match short due to injury, but he went along with it. He still, he took the bumps. He was there, like I remember Frank Elise mentioned yesterday, we were doing the stream, Riddle's taking his Friday night beatings, and I salute to you, Frank, for keeping us updated. We were watching the Ranger hockey game watch along, and all in all, the match was good. We got the hot tag to Randy Orton. It was phenomenal. He put the cross his feet, and everyone was all injected. And Randy Orton, man, I don't think anyone in tag team wrestling generates a hot tag more than Randy Orton. What's your thoughts on that one there?
That was to be expected, but I mean, it's Randy Orton. Randy Orton, like he's 20 in 20 years, he has never had more fun than he has in 2022. If that makes sense. He said he's had more fun with Matt Riddle than anybody. So Matt Riddle basically reinvigorated his career, reignited his career, and once they break up, it's going to be a fun program between those two.
Yeah, indeed. And then what I loved it, they gave this match time. They had like about 25 to 30 minutes of space of time.
It started like 9:35, so it was about 25 minutes.
It was perfect in time. It wasn't that botched up that we saw on Dynamite when they had only 8 minutes between on a qualifying tournament match between Cole and Hardy. But let's not jump off the rails. But they gave it enough time. They learned and they saw from the other mistakes from the other location. And all in all, good match there. The crowd was on his feet. You saw Jay Uso was going to go from was on the top rope, was going to do a splash, and then like a house of fire, you see Riddle with the flip, jumps up on the ropes. I love the way he explodes and jumps on that third turnbuckle. And he was trying to set him up for his own RKO from the top of the ropes. Before even that move, you saw Jay Uso did an RKO to Riddle himself. He did his, and I was like, whoa, that looked awesome. I hate the marks when they start chanting, "This is awesome," but that move was awesome. That was a good one. But then before that, like I was mentioning, Riddle explodes up onto the third turnbuckle. Looks like he was going to do a super RKO from the top ropes, or a high flying move from the third rope. All of a sudden, he's distracted by Paul Heyman on the opposite side as Randy Orton is being worked on the apron on the floor. And all of a sudden, Roman Reigns jumps in late to interfere, grabs the feet of Jey Uso, and Riddle falls off the ropes there, and allowing Jey Uso from the top ropes to deliver a splash. And lo and behold, after that splash, you get a 1, 2, 3 for the unification, and your winners, a new unified tag team champions, Jay and Jimmy the Usos. Thoughts?
Yes. Let's not forget Paul Heyman was on commentary for that match. So
Yes, he was. He was at ringside commentary, but he stopped. He put his headsets down, and he just wanted to interject for a moment there to provide that.
I find it fun. The chemistry between Pat McAfee and Paul Heyman was on point.
Oh, that stare down that they had with one another when they were talking, and they showed the camera. That looked like They looked like two cats ready to just pounce on each other with the. Oh, that was funny. That I love. Pat, you know what? Pat McAfee as a commentary has grown leaps and bounds, and him and Cole are phenomenal in SmackDown. They are phenomenal. I really enjoy their commentary. They both are phenomenally well workers there. I enjoy their broadcasting. Phenomenal job. Yes.
I think that did you speaking of commentary, did you hear that Edge might be recruiting Corey Graves for the Judgment Day?
I did not hear that.
I saw that on a Discord. Somebody sent a screenshot of, I guess, Edge liking Corey Graves' photo when he was in NXT. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but apparently he's leaving. He's gonna leave commentary and join the Judgment Day, which, like I said, I think he's gonna do a thing with Carmella and Tamina and R-Truth first, or Dana Brooke and R-Truth. I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens there. I mean, I don't know if Corey Graves still has it. I mean, his finishing move basically is a grapevine ankle lock. He calls it the Lucky 13. So
we see after the match, not only did they unify the belts, not only do they see them posing and getting the belts, but they decide to go after the former Raw Tag Team Champions and laid them a beat down afterwards. Sent a statement message. You also had the opportunity here with Jey Uso coming off from the rope onto the tables, announced tables, and he hits the splash there, taking out.
I'm surprised he was so far away. I didn't think he was going to make it.
This is not AE. This is not ABW or Botch Wrestling. This is WWE. When these performers perform, they 99% of the time they hit, and he nailed it. And WWE released to the point where WWE put an injury report as a result of vicious attack by the Bloodline in the wake of the SmackDown Tag Team unification. Riddle has suffered a bruised hip, lower back, and both Randy Orton and him are going to medical evaluation now. The reason why, remember I mentioned earlier, the ring doctor did check on Riddle on his hip. He was a little ning up, so they added this here to add to his storyline. It'll be interesting if Riddle will continue, because I'm thinking the next feud for Roman Reigns is going to be Riddle. I think Riddle is going to want to fight for that belt, and because you see Roman Reigns cost him by holding his legs and also put him in that Dragon Sleeper prior to putting him on the table, and he set him up to put him on that table. It was Roman Reigns on Riddle. We shall see if that's that, or if Riddle is going to be out sick, out with an injury. Randy Orton ready to relinquish his honor to go after Roman Reigns because he took his buddy.
I think what I think is going to happen here. I think that Riddle's going to be injured, going to be on the show for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then we have because I know Riddle's not Riddle. Reigns isn't fighting at Hell in a Cell, is he?
Don't know yet.
No, I don't think he is. But what you could do is you could set up. You lay the groundwork for Matt Riddle, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns type feud. So what you can do here is you could have Randy fight Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank, because I don't think he's facing anybody at Hell in a Cell. And then you can have Randy lose, which we know is going to happen. And you can have, after that, you can have Matt Riddle come back and then try and avenge Randy Orton's loss to Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, because they're both in the same month for some reason. That's where I would go with it. And then have I wouldn't pull the trigger on Riddle winning, because they're gonna have that's reserved for Cody.
right? And you give him some you could get him into that championship aspiration just to get that in ring performance with a world champion in there. We'll see. We'll see on that there. All in all, what's your thoughts on the ending of this match? The way, are you okay seeing the Bloodline unifying both belts here, winning it, and the way they're setting up here? What's your thoughts on there?
I liked it. I liked it. If I had to give it a rating, I will give it an S, but that's only because that's higher than A. In some ranking territories, that's an S. It'll be S, and then A plus, and then A minus, B minus, and stuff like that. But that's how I would rate. I would rate it higher than an A, like a super S or something.
Yeah, double A plus for me. Because one is that we all know this week's there have been talks, pitches to the network television meetings for the re-up of the contracts of both SmackDown and Raw, USA and Fox, as well as the merger Time Warner and Discovery, and for AW, a lot of TV contracts are up. And I like the fact that they threw a bone for folks on Friday Night SmackDown who could get it, especially those that are over the air antenna, cable cord cutters who don't have the Peacock channel or app or whatever the case. They gave them a nice bone here. They gave them a really, really good tag team match. They also a title change, an implication of the storyline, phenomenal. And you're enticed and you're a little bit teased, and because they won all these belts, they got all these titles. Wow, they're missing women now. They're missing blood, and they know, if those that follow wrestling know that there's family ties in the Samoa family with gold for women. And this is why I mentioned why I think this is a work when it comes to Naomi and the Sasha move, because remember, the Jimmy Uso is the husband of Naomi, of Tiffany Fatu. She is part of the Fatu family. She married into them. Now you bring her here and you have them go there over. They right now are a heel faction. All of them are heels. They're all heels. You bring them, now you could turn Sasha, who's a natural heel. You bring them in with Tiffany, who's part of the family. That's how Sasha gets involved in the family line, because she's her tag team partner. You bring her in here. Now the ladies capture the gold. The women go out there and, of course, generate the heat. The crowd is going to be there, the sympathetic characters, but who are heel, that we want them to win the gold, because there are marks that think this is a real life situation, not fully part of the work. They go in there, they become women's tag team champion. Now everyone in the bloodline have gold. Just imagine the Survivor Series, the Fatu, the bloodline defending against whoever the hell, the American Dreamers. You got storylines, character to build galore, Samurai.
Yeah, and everybody says that Vince doesn't do long-term booking. This is the definition of long-term booking, in my opinion.
Exactly. Vincent Kennedy McMahon is a genius. He has not been a self-made billionaire. He has not been He has been successful for already 40 plus years. Some of you people were sperm in your grandparents when this man was cutting his teeth. Yes, this man is a genius. This guy is a genius. He knows what he's doing. He is smart. He is intelligent. He surrounds himself with a smart group of people always. And that is a sign of a good, smart leader, of a person who will succeed. It's not just about you. You surround yourself with smart, intelligent people. And those that are not part of it, you cut and you move on from them. Remember, the business will always continue with or without the talent. And this man always continues. And the show continues with Vincent Kennedy McMahon in the World Wrestling Entertainment. And this is why you can never, never count this man out. I would never think in our generation or lifetime we'll ever see the WWE ever fail or go down where it's going to be brink of extinction. I don't think so, because this man, as long as this man and his creative genius, not just him, he runs down to his lineage with his son, his daughter, and now his son-in-law and his son-in-law, bringing in some smart, creative people with Nick Khan, as well as Michael Hickenbaum, who we all know is the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. They all surround themselves, and they don't up to par. They bring in the next smart folks. Like they have Cody now part of the developing team as a booker, helping out. They are smart, Samurai.
Yes, indeed, they are. Now, you are going to do AEW Rampage, because I don't watch Rampage, but you said you're going to do that, right?
I was going to do it, but I was going to do it now but I'm going to leave it. I'll do a separate video on that because it's a lot of different things to talk about it. I thought, to be honest with you, the AEW program last night, I'll just give it a quick in detail. It was pretty good. It was a pretty good program. It was much better than Dynamite. Much better than Dynamite. Dynamite had a lot of botches, a lot of this Rampage. If you haven't watched it, please go ahead and rewatch it. Either if you have it on DVR or so forth, or on YouTube, go ahead and watch it. It's worth watching. Rampage. It came out early. It came out early again due to the NFL on the NBA playoffs. This was much cleaner. AEW was much cleaner, even though it was the same night. And it's funny because it's recorded the same night but aired different, just like SmackDown used to be. But it was really good. The main event, you had Blackpool Combat Club and Dante, and it was a good match. The match was good. The tag team match, it was you need to watch it.
Isn't that you said that's the one? That's the match. That's where Daniel Bryan got hurt, right?
That's the match at the end. Yeah, he did get injured. He did get caught they had the elevated platform, the platform that goes from the ramp. Instead of going down an angle, it goes straight across, which is okay for certain venues. You were allowed to be eye level, like in Toronto and in certain places. Like that's almost an NWA type of ramp. That when you walk and you buy those seats, you can see the wrestlers coming. When you don't have to stand up to see when they're coming. You're level. You can actually see them sitting down. Although if you're a wrestling organization, you want everyone on their feet because that shows like, oh wow, like that's also a sign of respect too. When the performers comes out, you get on your feet for that performer because they're entertaining you. So they had that ramp level, and at the end of the event of the taping, they were all out brawl again. WCW, AWA type of finish, where everyone all chaotic, and of course the famous line, "We're out of time, we have to go." That kind of nonsense. While that happened, that's when Daniel Bryan, between the ring and the ramp, got his foot wedged, stuck there. He was there for like about 10 to 15 minutes. The maintenance crew had to come out and pretty much disassemble the ramp area to get his foot unlodged. I don't know how serious he was walking with a serious limp. He didn't want to get help. I guess a little bit of embarrassment or his pride. He limped his way back, but when he did get free, he did push a couple of the maintenance workers and officials hard. You idiots type of move, like you freaking idiots. And I don't know. It could be a work too. It could, as much as we say Naomi and Sasha was a work, this might have been a work too. But although it could be a clumsy work, like you're telling me you're this Blackpool Combat Club who kick a bunch of hard-nosed, hardcore kick-assers. You're gonna do this kind of tomfoolery with this? Doesn't fit. It was
who is in the Blackpool Combat Club? I know it's William Regal. Wheeler Yuta. Who's Wheeler Yuta? I know he's in it.
Wheeler Yuta is a young, inspiring Asian American wrestler. Kind of reminds me. He reminds me of, and it's a little bit a young Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. The kid is legit. Wheeler Yuta is legit wrestler. Right now, he's in Japan. He's fighting on like a cruiserweight tournament. Away. Tony Khan gave the okay to go fight into promotion. Also, it's going to help him with some good talents in Japan in that tournament. And he's not now. He's part of them, yes, but he's away right now. That's why they decided to put him in there with the storyline with going after the Jericho Society Club. There are 5 members of the Jericho Society Club members, and they were feuding with Eddie Kingston, Ortiz, and Santana, which is Street. You had a 5-on-3. So to even up the storyline, they decided to put, oh, let's put the Combat Club with you because it's Moxley and Bryan, and Regal is not a performer; he's more of a manager, mouthpiece. So he can. It works. The numbers work for them to go at it and go all out. So that's why you see them working together there. But all in all, I like the Black Blue Comic Club was really good. It's a good, and Frank says, how sloppy was that girl? Almost broke her neck 5 times in that same match. That girl, that's Kira Hogan. Horrible.
Oh, is that the thing you
Yes. That was the botches that we mentioned, we showed earlier. But all in all,
the Botchamania.
Botchamania. But Rampage was much more solid than Dynamite, although it was recorded in the same night, the same venue, the same event. But all in all, this was much better. I applaud to watch it. A lot of people were shooting on or laughing at the Dark Order, where they came out earlier. They was, but all in all, it was a good show. Rampage, out of a 5 stars, I give it a 3-star because it was very entertaining. It was good. Actually, I'm gonna go 4. I'm gonna be more lenient. I give it a 4. Tonight's SmackDown, I give it a complete 5. It was a really good SmackDown showing. I loved it. It was, it felt like a pay-per-view, and I'm glad you gave it to the folks on Fox. Those that are over-the-air antennas that cut the cord, that are not paying, that can't afford paying these ridiculous cable prices or 20,000 streaming apps. You threw them a bone and you gave them a really good card. Not just the tag team main event, but the promos as well as the ladies match as well. Everything was entertaining, and you allow the folks to go get a soda or a bathroom break with the Xavier Woods match. So I like it
too. Also, how long usually people complain about when the women are on, because they give them like 2 minutes. How long was that Shotzi Blackheart Raquel Gonzalez match?
That was good, solid 10-15 minutes. If 10-15, about 10 minutes, 10-minute match. It wasn't over. I thought, to me personally, it wasn't too short and it wasn't too long. I thought it was just right. It told the story. Shotzi still got over. Shotzi did not look terrible there. She still did her move. She did some offense. You saw the power of the Amazon in Raquel Rodriguez, and all in all, it did, to me personally, I loved it. It wasn't not long enough. It wasn't too long and it wasn't too short. I thought it was perfect personally.
Yeah, I think they're doing this mainly because Ronda Rousey is the champion. If Ronda wasn't the champion, we would still be getting 2-minute matches with the women.
Yeah, if she was we're gonna go going forward. We're gonna start seeing how long Rousey's open invitation matches are. If this is gonna be a quick squash job, and she keeps doing these squash job, I'm not gonna see her staying. Her range as women's champion isn't going to be too long, because you can't have your champion in a quick squash under 5-minute match. That's the problem that AEW is going to have if they decide to put the belt on CM Punk. CM Punk, basically, he cannot go more than 15 minutes because of conditioning or his age. He can't give you a solid 15 to 25-minute match. Everything's got to be under 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, because it's gonna show. It's gonna get sloppy and so forth. But if you want your champion to be able to carry, and I'm not saying you need to have a champion who's going to do an Iron Man match every time out, though, but you need to have them where that could carry a program in case some type of earlier card has an injury or so forth. You able to carry the match to a longer length and entertain. And I think Rousey cannot. I think Rousey's the one that 10 minutes tops to 15. You're like pushing like, oh, this might be cringeworthy. Let me go get a piece of tinfoil to chew on. But
I mean, like you said, I mean, CM Punk is we're gonna dive a little bit. Hold on, that's a little loud. Well, sorry. We're gonna dive a little bit into CM Punk because, like I told you before, CM Punk is a quote unquote financial flop according to Eric Bischoff. Because what is he doing? I mean, he left WWE He got fired on his wedding night, on his wedding day, which sucks. But then he went some MMA, lost 2 matches, I think, or 2 or 3 matches. And then Dana White says he didn't want him to perform anymore. So then he sits on his ass for 2 or 3 years to do what? Contemplate going back to either WWE or AEW. I mean, some people say that certain signings for AEW are a game changer. I don't think so. Like I told you when Keith Lee joined AEW, somebody said that him joining AEW was a game changer. I don't think so. Just like when Malachi Black, aka Aleister Black, joined AEW, game changer. No, he's just a good wrestler. Tommy Eaton's a really great wrestler. I think that they just want to be pardon my language here, but they want to be dick riders at AEW, hoping that they'll garner some good some good faith with Tony Khan, and have Tony Khan reach out to him and be like, hey, you want to work for me? I'm like, I just don't see it.
It's nothing wrong of going to your competitor. If AEW provides you with more money than the World Wrestling Entertainment, who are we as fans to tell you don't go there? If they're willing to give you $5 million guarantee to go wrestle in a promotion that, even if you might wrestle once in a while, they don't know what the hell they're doing, but you're making $5 million paycheck and you're making money, and you know what? Take it. I'm not. You know what? Who are we to tell you not to make the most money you can?
Yeah. I mean, that's not what I'm saying.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Game changer with these wrestlers leaving. If Vince McMahon decides, and I'm saying Vince McMahon is not perfect either. He has done some, and later down the road, he has even mentioned himself his mistakes and moves that he regrets, and he's done so many of them with certain talents. He's regret. I'm pretty sure right now, if you ask him, he regrets on Tough Enough letting go of a young kid named Maxwell Jacob Freeman, who was in Tough Enough in WWE in a developmental contract. Let him go. Look at him now. Real? Yeah, he was part of Tough Enough. He was in Tough Enough.
What year? The reiteration or
not so long ago, because he's only 20. MJF is only 25 years old, so it must have been recent history. And I don't remember him, to be honest. I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I saw that. I remember him there. I liked the 2015 version of Tough Enough, because they had wrestlers they had people that were aspiring, that were like Patrick Clark was there, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, and they ended up being let go, but they still made it to WWE because they saw potential in them. Right, that's the same thing that's going on with MJF.
Yeah, and then they had what's his name, Matt Cross, formerly known as N-Dog Matt 20. He was there in that version, and now he's doing something in I don't know where he's at right now.
DNT, if I'm not believing.
He's
TNA,
right.
TNA.
He's in TNA.
I believe so. I might be wrong.
Impact, but no, because hometown. He's from Cleveland, Ohio, so that's how I know who he is. Because I used to watch this thing called Ohio, all Ohio Wrestling or something. I forget what it was called, but they used to come on it would be old episodes, but I still watch it. I just like Johnny Gargano. He was there. He had long hair at the time. It was weird. Johnny was long hair. It was very bizarre. Yeah, I don't know. It's to me, I feel like AEW does not know how to utilize their talent, but they do at the same time. But they're using them in the wrong ways. Like I said the other night, where is Malachi Black? Where is the House of Black?
They're fighting. They're gonna fight in Double or Nothing. They're gonna fight finally against Death Triangle. Finally, they're gonna have a 6-person tag. Finally, they're gonna get there going. But when he came out, he was the flavor of the month. I remember when Malachi Black, Aleister Black, whatever he's called in AEW, came out. Oh, they got excited. They needed to go after he debuted. I know Tony Schiavone needed to go to the back of the locker room to change his shorts because he wet them, and of course, that's what they right now. He's just like you said. He's like, okay, mid Carter. Well, what was the game changing with him? But it is what it is. Vince McMahon blows the gas. Tony Khan wants to sign it and wants to say that's a game changer. So that's what it is here. That all it is history repeat itself. It's WCW. A billionaire, son of a billionaire, wants to acting like Eric Ripoff and doing exactly like Eric Ripoff did back in the 90s with NWO and spending Turner's money.
Yeah. I think like I said, like Keith Lee and Isaiah Swerve Scott, aka Shane Strickland. I think that where they're going with that tag team, I think they just put them together because they're black. Being honest with you, and that's not me being racist. I think that they put those two together because they're black. The skin color, skin tone.
Do you think? I mean, I can't speak for you because you are African American descent. And those that see only his avatar, I know him from behind the scenes. And it's not just someone hiding. I think the reason, not only that, I don't think it's that personally. I'm thinking it's because they both work together in NXT. They know how to what it is to be a professional wrestler, how to wrestle. Because here's the thing. Oh, Samurai. What I'm seeing here is one thing why AEW is so gravitating and people like it is because they're wrestlers. They're wrestling. Now, when it comes to WWE, they're wrestlers they're first sports entertainers who are entertaining us at a high level of wrestling. In AEW, they're not sports entertainers. They're wrestlers. But Tony Khan wants to make it sports entertaining by giving us wrestling. If you understand what that
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I just, like I said, I just feel like sometimes basically Tony Khan blowing his load on people that came from NXT or XWE performers, wrestlers, whatever you want to call them. And then like you get people on like Twitter, like I'm not going to say the person's name, but the one that I talked about earlier, he's saying that people are game changers when they're really not. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like nobody's a real game changer. This is not. You're not going to find the next like Andre the Giant.
It's all wishful thinking. There's folks out there that want to see the demise of Vince McMahon. They want him to just be alive when it fails. For some reason, somehow, somewhere, they have maybe he cut a wrestler that they loved or whatever the case is, or just people just don't like when people are successful. There's people that just on human nature. Some people just hate. They're just haters, and they want to see WWE hate. And someone might think that we sound like we hate on AEW. If I hated AEW, I would not be watching it. And when I would have told you, I would not have told you that Rampage is really good and encouraging you to go watch it. I do not hate AEW. All I'm telling you is the truth. What I see, what I feel, it's a copy and repeat of WCW. That's it. Their wrestlers are sloppy. Their storylines stink. They're ripping off. Give me something original. Their performers, their wrestlers, I like some of their wrestlers there. They're wrestlers. They're not sports entertainers. I love Jericho. I love the fact Jericho wants to be a sports entertainer there in that company and what he brings. I love the fact that the crowd, they go nuts for Judas, when they want to sing Judas and Warlord and MJF, but don't lose the fact. Don't see you got to be also transparent and realistic. Are you okay if you're supporting an AEW where the new flavor of the month comes for just arrives and all the focus and everything is like, oh, well, no, he just got here. I'm going to give him the big piece of chicken. But wait a minute. I worked here. I'm the one who's working and paying the bills here, the electricity, the water, the roof, the mortgage. Meanwhile, this person is coming. And I understand you treat your guests right, but, you're the backbone that's keeping the lights on. Why are you, taking away from feeding me to feed someone who just got here? You don't know what they're going to bring. They're going to bring chaos or disorder. That's the way I see it.
Exactly. Like who just debuted recently? John Morrison. I don't know. That I think he was just there for the one match, the one tournament. But then I'm not sure if he actually signed with AEW. But then, like I said, AEW they're really honing in on the fact of the meme. All Elite Wrestling stands. AEW stands for All X WWE, and that's just how I feel about it. I was going over before. All the XAV wrestlers that are there, they have John Moxley, John Morrison, Keith Lee, Aleister Black, Buddy Matthews, Daniel Bryan, William Regal, Ruby Soho.
The list is long. The list is extremely long.
Exactly.
It's long. And Tori Storm, Serena Deeb, Dustin Rhodes. You could name the whole roster pretty much. Even the commentaries: Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, Taz. You could, and all in all, Jericho. You could go on and on. The list keep growing from all in all former wrestlers. But if they're not being used in in WWE, you know what? Go make money, make your money, but don't pretend that you're what I don't like is the pretension of we're greater because we're doing it better here because we were mistreated by the WWE. No, you weren't. That's the thing. This is why I tend to get a little bothered and may sound like I dislike AEW because these ex-wrestlers go and they act like they had it terrible in WWE when meanwhile WWE, you travel the world with them. Vince treat all their wrestlers well. You might not like the booking or where if you won or not because maybe you didn't perform to a liking. We don't know what happens behind closed doors. Maybe you behind the scenes when you travel, you didn't conduct yourself in a proper manner in outside of behind the scenes in the locker room. Maybe when you were in the hotel rooms that they booked for you guys to stay, you acted like a total jerk or jackass and disrespectful to authority figures or had a bad attitude, with anyone, with costume designers, with makeup artists, with stunt coordinators, with folks that assemble the ring, and pyrotechs, whatever the case was, and you maybe was a jerk or a moron, it wasn't worth it, or you acted like a buffoon that you could have been guy in the truck company sued because this is $1 billion company. You still got to act professional. This is not a bingo parlor or a local high school gym that you're going to go wrestle for the night and you move on to the next city. You're going to stay in the Motel 6. This is the WWE. This is a multi-talented, multi-billion company. You have to act corporate. And maybe some of these guys that are in this business that were released didn't act or conducted themselves this way. And they might have been talented performers, but their outside characters wasn't WWE material. So you had to go.
Exactly. And then like I said, I know for a fact that Dean Ambrose, when he was in WWE, he was very upset about the fact that, he had to cut a promo on Roman Reigns' cancer, and those two are basically best friends. Like, I know that's a fact. That's one of the reasons why he left, because he didn't want to do that storyline about Roman Reigns and his leukemia, which it really made him stick to his stomach.
And I heard it from his wife, Renee Young. Renee Young. We know her as Renee Young in WWE. She was on the, again, Busted Open. I'm a big fan of the Busted Open podcast on Sirius Satellite Radio. I don't mind giving them a cheap plug because I listen to them. I'm a fan. This is a program of the Heal the Ring podcast. Is from a fan to the fan. I'm a fan of the WWE of wrestling. Period. WWE, AEW, NWA, WCW. Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I don't need that I'm not big a fan is New Japan Wrestling because I don't have the time to watch it. But I know my history of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, AAA Wrestling. You name it, you got it. I'm a third generation wrestling fan who goes back to before WrestleMania. When WrestleMania 1 started, I actually was on the earth. I was actually watching it. I watched it. And I appreciate the way the evolution of the wrestling business has come along. So I could say that with all certainty and say that, you have creative. When she came on the podcast, she mentioned that she was mentioned about another storyline, and she said she wasn't going to do it. She wasn't going to ask that question, and she did, and she didn't get no heat. You have the opportunity to say, you know what, it's not going to work. You don't have to say it. Now, what happened with Dean Ambrose Moxley, that character, he got stale. It pretty simple. Be honest with you, he needed a change of scenery. I'm okay for him going. It was okay for him to go to AEW because he got stale. He was the if you're asking me, he was the weakest member in the whole Shield organization. He got over for a while. The WWE did not want to do any more hardcore matches. He would have been a good hardcore match. His matches would have been hardcore, probably brought back the hardcore title, whatever the case was, or get an extreme title, whatever you want to call it. Remember, they don't want to do blood matches no more because of the hepatitis situation with the wrestlers getting hepatitis with the open blood and so forth, especially and that's before pre-pandemic. So they stopped that. And that's what, if you think of Dean Ambrose, his matches are barbed wire matches, hardcore matches. WWE is not in that attitude era no more with the rated R. They're PG-13 because they're on Fox. They're catering to the Disney sponsorship and so forth. And this is why it was okay for Jon Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, to, yes, you know what, if he wants to explore and go, he could go to AEW and New Japan and go on and work, which is, I'm fine with it. He's doing really well in AEW. His contract, he's going to re-sign with them again. There was talks of him returning to WWE, but you know what? And my point, not that I don't want him, he will have a huge pop if he returns. But I think his style of the way he wrestles, what he's got going, works for AEW.
Now I'm gonna ask you this. Now, if he did re-sign with the WWE, do you think he would go by Jon Moxley, or do you think he would go back to using Dean Ambrose?
That's a good question. I think he'll go back as Moxley. The reason why I say that, we saw when Diesel and Razor Ramon returned, they came back as Kevin Hall and Scott Nash.
It's Kevin Nash and
Scott Hall. Look at that. I said it backwards. To rest in peace with the late Scott Hall.
Yeah. I mean, like that to me, I think that we all know him now as Jon Moxley. And before he was with WWE, before he signed in 2011, he was Jon Moxley. That was his name. I know because when he did I think it was a dark match like back in 2006 on SmackDown. He was known. He was known as Jon Moxley. So, he had pink long hair and everything. So I know that's a fact. So he should realistically if he does go back to WWE, which he will. Everybody will go back to WWE at some point. Go back as Jon Moxley, just like Aleister Black. When he goes back to WWE, because he's not going to stay in AEW forever. He will go back as either Malachi Black or Aleister Black. He's not going to use his other ring name, which is Tommy End. Like, I feel like everybody that's in AEW currently, and when their contract is up, because they don't release people, they let their contract expire. They're going to go back to WWE, and they're going to be a bigger name for it.
I don't think not everyone. But I understand I get your point. Not everyone. We could do that on another program, but I don't think not everyone. But those that do return, they will have that cachet. But because the WWE is building a lot of great talent wrestlers in NXT, and they got next. Just like they say hashtag we got next. NXT has next, and they are ready. Some of their wrestlers and their program. And I don't know if, there might be some of these wrestlers from AEW that will come. We have a whole list. We know them, the names, we know them, but not everyone, I don't think, see them returning. I think they'll stay. And that's if AEW still sticks around because they're getting left behind at the Warner merger with that, with the dirt sheet. They're in trouble.
What do you think? How How long do you think AEW will actually? Everybody says it's not gonna. It was gonna. It was gonna. They're a t-shirt company, so they're gonna fail. And look at them now. 3 years later, going on 4 years, they're still around. Do you think they last longer than 5 years, or do you think they're gonna just like crumble?
No, no, I think they'll stick around, but would they be a major player? Would not really. They'll still be around because they still sell out arenas, that's a gate. They have a gate, a revenue gate. But like I mentioned, there were some meetings here. A little bit of disappointment with the AEW at the Warner Discovery meetings. Was called the Discovery Upfront. This past Wednesday, the company had AEW had nobody there, no virtual presence whatsoever, and that's not good for when you have a merger and you're trying to appease your new bosses. And it was initially reported that AEW had no huge presence at the appointed event, but everything fizzled out as part of a one banner. And very shortly, you had some highlight clips showing the network, and they didn't even mention AEW. So that's they're going ahead and showing, hey, the new merger with Warner Discovery, and not even the banner of AEW did not show up there. Also, it is said that David Zala, the CEO of Warner Discovery, is on a mission to slash $3 billion. $3 billion from currently right now on the merger. And AEW will start its negotiation with a new deal and a network year, which currently expires in 2024. So this is not just big for them staying in existence with a TV contract. Everybody says that MJF's contract is due in 2024. Now, if they don't get a big lucrative contract and it goes re-up by any of these TV networks, goodbye MJF, because they won't be able to give the money that MJF is asking for. So AEW is on the fence of being in trouble. Now, they're going to do great. They sold out the pay-per-view Double or Nothing. They're going this Wednesday. It's going to be their 3-year anniversary on being as a company existing. Also, the Forbidden Door, with New Japan Wrestling sold out in Chicago. Now that's going to be a big tell. If the matches are a big flop or there's some strife between New Japan and AEW, that's a tricky situation. But all in all,
I'm gonna piggyback off of that. Do you know? I saw somewhere that some Japanese wrestler, I don't know what her name was. She said that AEW does not care about Japanese wrestling.
Oh, that's me. I think that was Mika. Like I get tongue twisted with these Japanese wrestlers. I saw something like that, but you know what? It's hard to say that because Tony Khan himself, being a Pacific descendant as well, says he cut the promo for, remember, it's Pacific Heritage Month, and he says he showcases, and he showcases the Pacific Asian American talent on AEW. He does a really good job with that, despite the fact he hasn't got him over as champion. So although she was the first woman and AEW champion, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was a lady who you mentioned said that. But all in all, I'm gonna leave that as a little bit of sour grapes, because you're putting over Jay Cargill, you're putting over, you brought in Ruby Soho, made a big deal about it, big breaker, and you're like an afterthought, kind of like you pushed away because I think she had a relinquish due to injury or some sort like that. I didn't follow the women's storyline at that time as much as I like to follow women's wrestling in general, all the companies, but I think it's a little bit of a sour grapes. As much as we, sound like we were hurting AEW's credibility, but I'm going to go with sour grapes on the performer. She's still employed there, but I think it's just sour grapes.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I don't know what's going on with that, because I don't watch, like, I know the majority of their roster is Japanese, so of the women's roster is Japanese. So for her to say that AEW doesn't care about Japanese wrestling is kind of iffy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I said. It sounds like sour grapes. We're going to leave it at that, because we like I said, we're not in the locker room. We don't know exactly with it, and it doesn't. It's to me, it's a little bit of sour grapes. It's similar, like I want get booked a little better, but let's face it, the American crowd doesn't really gravitate to you. What do you want these bookers and these agents to do? You're not they're not gravitating to you. They want to they still want to build the women's division. They don't want it to be a throw-in. Oh, let's just throw some two ladies out there to wrestle. And they want to build storyline. They have personality with Jay Carhill and the baddies, with Dr. Bitbreaker. No matter what, if you do or don't like her, she still has a little bit of a cachet, a little flair there. You brought in Ruby Soho. Excuse me, not Ruby Riot, but Ruby Soho in there. You also have Kate Statlander with the alien persona character, whatever that's going on. There's something there, but it's up to creative and booking and giving them the opportunity to make this work with the women's division. They got talented women, yes. Do they have the right booking and agents? I don't think so. Personally, not for the women's program in AEW. I think that's what they're lacking. They're not lacking women talent. They have women talent. They have some good talented women, from Hayter and so forth down, Tori Storm, but they're missing the person. Like I said, they're not into the storyline wrestling entertainment business. They're into the wrestling, not the storyline business or sports entertaining. And that's why kind of women's wrestling looks kind of lost because of that reason. And I think that's a philosophy that the company wants to go by. And hey, you got to respect it. A lot of fans like it. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to, see just some good old, if hardcore wrestling, that's for you, but you want, and that's why people get upset and get mad with WWE. Oh, they're telling a story, always something, because WWE is selling you a fantasy story, an escape, a program. And that's why, and they provide it through the wrestling matches and a storyline. That's why they're different. That's why they're successful, because people tend to get into that escape realism, to get into that wrestling fantasy world. And that's why it worked, and that's why it continues to work. And that's why people but it's not, they tend to shoot or hate on it because it's successful, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you on that standpoint. I just was like, I thought about that because of like they don't really have much stock in the women's division in AEW, although they have like Chris Statlander, they have Ruby Soho, Mercedes Martinez, another ex-WWE person, Britt Baker, Tony Storm, I can't remember who else. The Bunny.
We didn't even Bunny. We didn't even mention the champion, Thunder Rosa. She's phenomenal.
Yeah, Thunder Rosa is good as well. I mean,
phenomenal wrestler. Phenomenal wrestler. Ty Conti. They got women who could wrestle, but they do not have the right proper bookers, storyline tellers, and allow them to that freedom or to do that program, because they got too many wrestlers, too many, and they want to put so many. Oh, let's go and let's cram it there. The 2-hour show and Elevation and Dark and too much, and doesn't give it the proper. It you need like a AEW women and a program, and they don't have that the cachet or the network to do AEW women, so they could just showcase the women of AEW of a program alone, because they do, and I say it, and as much they have just as good talent as WWE. WWE has better. The women are more seasoned, more better, but the AEW, they do got some good ladies wrestlers there, and it just they get lost because they fall under the line when you put too much ice in a drink, you water it down.
Right, exactly. Like I never understood why WWE let go of Mercedes Martinez, but I mean they did, and she's not really doing much on AEW. At least that from what I've seen. So what was the point in letting her go? Like you need women in WWE, which they have, but then they don't really have much main event caliber women in NXT. They could have used her to put her over, give her the NXT Women's Championship, and then from there they could have let her go. But they did the exact opposite.
There's a lot of variables, and we're gonna let this is the last segment. Before we cut out, I have to get going. There's a lot of variables, Samurai. It could be things that, and I don't, and that's not speculating. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying hypotheticals. They could be that these ladies, one, bad attitude, Two, don't have the real commitment that needs. You have to get yourself in the ring. One is a workout program, weight conditioning, workout habits, also drug testing. Maybe that some of these ladies might, let's face it, there is drug use in wrestling all around, even in the WWE, all the way to WWE, to all the wrestling organizations. These guys, these performers, men and women, they put their life on their line. They throw themselves, they take these bumps from outside to the ropes, from the ropes out to the apron, so forth. You're gonna get nicks and bumps. What happens, and we see it happens, unfortunately, to so many wrestlers that pass. They take the pain-killing drugs, they take all the different, not just painkillers, cocaine, all types to drug, pot, marijuana, any kinds, abuse with aspirins, muscle relaxers, whatever the case is, because they have an injury, because they want to perform, they want to keep putting food on their table. And let's face it, they like being in front of a camera. It's like us. We like to come and talk on content, even though we're a bunch of amateurs. But guess what? When we go live, we enjoy it. There's a thrill, euphoria coming on and speaking live and stream, even if it's just two people listening to you. It's still a euphoria that you get. And these wrestlers, when they get hundreds of thousands of people, they like that thrill. We all, as human ego, we like we like that thrill. We like that euphoria. And I got to get better. I'll take this to mask it. And certain things maybe comes out of you get out of control, and it leads to some of these wrestlers like head scratching moves. Why did they let go of so and so? Also, you don't know behind the scenes. I think one of the reasons why Sammy Guevara career might be in trouble in AEW is because in August of 2021, excuse me, he was on camera on, if I'm not mistaken, either Rampage or one of the AEW program, proposing to a young lady to marriage, and 4 months later he's making out or fully open mouth with Ty Conti. So what happened to them? Were you messing around with Ty Conti before while you were getting engaged or engaged to this young lady? And backstage, there's a lot of married men in the AEW. You know what? I don't agree with your lifestyle. You're cheating. Or and the same thing happened in WWE with Wade Bryant and the current the young lady that was the ring announcer. I forget her name. JoJo. He got divorced. Ray Wyatt because while he was a WWE performer, because he had an affair and now he's still with JoJo. Those type of moral clause behind the scenes also affects the morale, the atmosphere, and allows you to get removed from a show, removed from your job. It's like at our jobs. If you go to work drunk or smelling of alcohol to your bosses, you get fired on the spot. Or if you're smoking marijuana and you get it into an accident and you're in the construction field, they test for drug testing and you have a positive test, you lose your job. Those things like that, and they're not going to go public about it sometimes because you know what? Go clean your life, go fix yourself, and then come back, and we'll give you an opportunity. Because those are things you don't go around publicizing, your job. Oh, we fired him because
that's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
But at the same time, like WB, so they've offered it's so weird because they've offered rehab to AEW wrestlers. Like, I understand why. Like, if you offer, I don't think that AEW can do that. They can't offer rehab like WWE does. They want the wrestlers to get better. I heard that they offered Jon Moxley rehab.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about the wrestling. It doesn't matter about the performance. It's about the human being, the life. And if you could save someone's life, even if they're not a performer, and if they're not going to provide you for any money or provide you to help you make any money, at the end of the day, you're saving someone's life. And if you could help them get the help you got, because you did make money off of these performers, they gave their body, they gave their sweat, blood, sweat, and tears. And if you could help them, help themselves, better their lives, that's just being a human. That's the right thing to do, to be honest with you. No matter who it is, if it's an ex-WWE, and I hope either Smoky Mountain Wrestling, WWE as well, because you did elect that person into your Hall of Fame, and they're part of your Hall of Fame, regardless of what that person did, I hope they get Tammy Cinch, aka Sunny, the help that she needs. You know, she's been battling with a lot of alcoholism. She killed someone here in the state of Florida, hit and run, and she having some legal issues. Yes, does she deserve jail time? Of course, you killed somebody. You know, you have to pay the consequences. But I hope they support her that she needs with the proper help, legal help to get her the right help, incarcerated, and also help her life with the drugs and alcohol that she went through. We all know that she sold the WWE ring in a pawn shop, her Hall of Fame ring. She's been going through, she even well down the adult film star actress as well. And she's a cry for help. And there's a lot of wrestlers that go through this pain. You know, we also, one of the other lady wrestlers killed herself recently, a couple years ago, due to, was unhappy. You know, I forget her name. I'll get her name to give her the proper tribute. And WWE, not just WWE, but wrestling in general, needs to be responsible for help and set up help counsel for these folks. We losing way too many wrestlers young because of the abuse that they have on their body and the medication that helps them overcome that injury and that bumps to help them perform. And I wish they will help them outside of the ring that needs the help. You know, we heard bad news, sad news, so breaking sad news. Jim Duggan's cancer has resurfaced. He's battling that again. He needs financial help. We saw Chris Jericho gave up $5,000 of his money to Virgil. He's battling colon cancer. You know, he needs medical help. He had a GoFundMe page, needing help for his medicals. A guy who made millions of dollars, who headlined, who was, even if he was a valet and WrestleMania as $1 Million Man's valet, this man the WWE should, you know, I understand, you know, you have to be responsible with your own money. If you decide to drink it and like they say, piss it away, that's on you. You had your opportunities. But if this person performed and is inducted in your Hall of Fame, you should be able to have some type of outreach, some type of program to help, or at least help with the medicals. You know, like Mongo McMichaels, you know, he's also battling on death's door. You know, he's not in good shape. You know, those type of, financially, they should be kind of help. And kudos to those wrestlers that embrace their past and help some of these folks that are in some hard times. I wish they will be more helpful around with that.
I love Diamond Dallas Page.
Yes, yeah. So with that said, man, it was a good 2 hours here. We're gonna get going. I have to get going soon. So Samurai, thank you, man. It's always a pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure. This is our second program working together. We talked a little bit of SmackDown here, mostly SmackDown, and a little bit outside the ring of, you know, WWE, AEW, and so forth. It was a good discussion here. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and especially in the audio platform. You know, our views and our thoughts are just our opinions. It's not a paid or endorsed opinion by any wrestling organization, WWE, AEW, NWA. No, it's just us, what we seen, what our thoughts are. Our thoughts, you know, it is what we think are our opinions. So just like we respect your opinions and we may not agree, we agree to disagree. But thank you for listening to us, and we thank you for entertaining, and we'll see you next time here on the Heel the Ring podcast. Remember, continue to pin the competition and always get over in life. So from me to you, may the sports be with you. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.